Hi everyone, I'm James Spinelli, founder and CEO of Great Valley Advisor Group. GVA is a leading technology-driven, full-service, registered investment advisor. GVA partners with select independent financial advisors to provide customized technology, investment strategies, compliance, and back-office solutions. This podcast will provide answers to common questions that are asked by advisors throughout the transition process by interviewing experienced individuals who have benefited from their transition to independence. Welcome to the GVA Way. Welcome to episode number 18 of the GVA Way. I'm James Spinelli, CEO and founder of Great Valley Advisor Group. And today we have the honor of having Todd Cipperman join us again for a back-to-back episode as we dive a little deeper into the conversation that we had last month. So Todd, thanks for being on board.
Love doing it.
And so let's talk about specifically really what a DBA is in the RIA world, and what that looks like for an advisor who may be exploring their options as they say, should I create my own RIA? What comes along with that? Should I plug into an existing RIA, such as a Great Valley Advisor Group? And we know there's plenty of them out there that are built differently. So like more of Great Valley being a platform versus a single owned RIA or the majority, the largest book within that organization owning the RIA and kind of making the rules of how things should work. And then the third option of plugging into one of those larger RIAs that we see out there, the big names in the space and everything around that. So the DBA concept, doing business as, is nothing new.
No, that's right.
Right. It's something that's been in the space since I started GVA over 11 years ago. It's how we built the entire model. In fact, we prefer most advisors plug in as the 1099 channel and build the business the way that they've always envisioned. Now, you have a ton of background in the space,
yeah,
right?
Sure do.
I mean, you've been in the space for decades, different roles or different hats. What have you seen within the industry regards to these, advisors plugging into RIAs, watch outs, things to look for, and the best ways to really build those businesses and be a successful advisor working with clients?
Yeah, I mean, it's like anything else. You want the right horse for the right course.
Yeah.
But in many ways, if you're a successful advisor running your own shop, and you've got some challenges running that business, and we all do. I ran my own business. You run a good business. Mm-hmm. Entrepreneurs, it's tough. You want to focus on your clients. You want to build your business, and then you got all this other stuff you got to worry about: technology and compliance and HR and all the rest of it. And you're trying to figure out the right balance. It's great being a founder, entrepreneur, business owner. It's a lot of fun. You dictate your own life and you make your own decisions. But there's some costs that go along with that and some difficulties. In some ways, the DBA is a great sort of perfect solution.
Correct.
Right? If you continue on your own path on your own, or even if you say, you know what, to heck with it, I'm just going to join another large RIA firm, you lose a lot of that entrepreneurial control that you really love. Your own independence, doing it your way, using products that you want, hiring the people that you want, building a relationship in the community that you want under your own name. If you go, and it's even more so if you go to a big wirehouse. Yeah. I mean, you're kind of an employee, and you're sort of dictated to. They sort of tell you what to do, and you got to do it. And you're wow, this is how I started my career. Practically, I started as an employee being told what to do. I just get paid a lot more. Mm-hmm. The DBA is kind of a great middle ground. So you continue as an entrepreneur, as an independent business, but you get rid of some of the headaches, like trade clearance and technology and compliance and HR and your IT and all the rest of that stuff, which allows you to get rid of some hassle, but probably more importantly, from a financial perspective, it allows you to build your business. It allows you to be with clients, which most every advisor I ever met likes.
Yeah.
And actually get new clients.
Correct.
And it gives you more time to do that. Because the problem is with founders, we all think the time is infinite. It's not. Even if you extend your workday, even if you work 80 hours a week, it's still only 80 hours a week.
Yep.
And if you can find time, it's your most precious asset. And I think the DBA is the perfect sort of middle ground.
Correct. Yeah. And I think there were some key takeaways when we had discussed kind of hopping on here. Like, what are some of the things that allow the advisor to feel that entrepreneurial spirit, right? To be part of something, to be part of that community with other people that are also part of that community, including myself, including yourself as a former business owner, right? And being part of GVA now, we're a small business. We connect so well with those advisors running small businesses, right? I mean, there's certain models that folks go to, like the EOS model, but I think the first piece of that is brand control. How do you want to brand to your local market? How do you want to be set up? The way that this has been built out, at least from the GVA standpoint, is you build your brand the way that you envision you would want to be marketed out to the public locally there. You are in full control of that, and you have the support to do that. That alone is a cost savings, especially when you're setting up a new shop. Right, so I think that's a big piece of it, getting everything through compliance, right? We go back to that. That's also going to be a big lift. And then going live, right? Day one. What do I do day one? Okay, I don't know. How am I going to lean on the RIA that I plugged into or the firm to help me do that? And I think that's an important piece. And there's a lot of other advisors within our network who have done that and are still doing that with the advisors we have joining, with ones that have just joined. And one of the things that we had mentioned was, let's talk about the conference. Let's talk about GVA's conference that's upcoming. You have two advisors there who have been with us, and let's say one advisor started with 50 million and is now have 150 million over the course of 3 to 4 years. You have another advisor who maybe has 50 million looking to build an enterprise, and they've gotten to 250 and added advisors along the way. You now have a new advisor who has joined the network that's sitting there with 25, like, oh my goodness, what do I do now? We're going to have conversations with them, obviously. But they connect with those two advisors at the conference. The power of the knowledge that those two former advisors can bring to that individual to help them be successful is, I think, honestly, probably the biggest factor of being a small business owner.
Yeah, I can't agree more. I mean, you can almost, and maybe, and I don't mean this literally, but in many ways, the DBA model with a platform like GVA is a bit like a mutual association of like-minded individuals.
Correct.
Right? Even if someone's 25 million and another one over here is 500 million, they're part of the platform because they think the same way.
Yeah.
They might be at different points in their career and they can leverage each other, as opposed to being, if you join someone else's RIA, it's his or her way of, or the highway.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you join a big firm and you're just part of a wirehouse, that sort of speaks for itself. You in some ways you're the biggest fish in the biggest pond when you run your own firm with all that goes. But you run, as the old jokes, you run out of things to eat if the pond is too small.
Yeah.
Whereas in a DBA platform, you're sort of a big fish in a big enough pond. It's sort of a perfect situation, and you can benefit from that ecosystem.
100%. And you have the concept too, where we have actually had advisors join GVA who are plugged into an RIA where the main owner of that RIA also has the largest book, is doing the most production. So any changes that are being done are definitely there to benefit them. And then there's like the ancillary, hey, well, we're still part of this RIA. How is the platform helping me, or is it not? Right? And that is something that we see more and more as you have these large individual producer RIAs that continue to grow because the top producer is also controlling the compliance. And so the decisions that are being made are not necessarily done from advisor feedback. They're done to protect the person at the top.
And the question to ask yourself if you're thinking about making a change is, am I becoming part of a business that has infrastructure, which is the platform model, or am I just joining a practice group and I'm just a small piece of it?
Correct.
And that latter, when you have a big name RIA individual, everything is subject to that. It may go great. You may have a great relationship.
Right.
That person may retire. Mm-hmm. They may bring in family members. They may sell the business. Mm-hmm. So it's as good as we say in all relationships, is as good as long as it's good.
Yep.
But it's not an institutional platform that you can rely on.
Yeah. And I think that's big. And then you look at some of the larger ones that aren't RIAs, right? That are just, they have these platforms built into them being such a large organization. And they're saying, yeah, come join us. But ultimately, their focus is probably another channel, not necessarily being an RIA first. They're focused on something else first, not being an RIA. And so you have that component as well there.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with probably thousands of RIAs in my career. And the subtle difference here is with a DBA model versus the sort of the big wirehouse. Instead of being told what to do, the platform has to cater to those advisors because it's competitive and it's much easier to leave.
Yep.
You have a lot more influence, so you're more of a customer than an employee.
Yeah. And so that's going to be a really, really big connection that we're going to feel between the two. So one of the points that we had here was, we've tried to build GVA in a structure that caters to both the individual advisor as well as enterprises within our network, and have done a pretty strong job over the past year or so to really redevelop what that means, right? So 2 affiliation channels, RA only, hybrid, 3 direct paths. You're integrated, you're guided, or you have the profit and partner. But with that, there's always really a seat at the table. And we're going to kind of pop back to where we talked about how the advisors have the ability to go out there and look around, but why they think the platform itself is really benefiting their business, right? There has to be some sort of benefit there because as a DBA within an RIA landscape, there's a lot of opportunity out there, right? And so making sure everyone has a seat at the table is something that is difficult, right? And you want to get that advisor feedback. And some of the things that we've done over the past year was partnering with a new custodian, was allowing additional business to take place, was putting succession planning on the forefront to make sure every single advisor that joined the firm had a succession plan in place. And guess what? That succession plan can be with an advisor of a totally different DBA, right? That's the beauty of going under one RIA versus being separately out on the different RIAs that are out there.
I think that's right. And I think you also have to be somewhat careful. We haven't hit this directly. Not every DBA is created equally, right? I think GVA is unique, or at least special. I mean, in that it's run by people and a CEO who is both a small business owner, views himself fundamentally that way, but also as an advisor.
Yep.
A lot of platforms are not run by advisors. They're not advisors, not even run by advisors. They're run by technologists or operations people or product people or, God forbid, lawyers. GVA really sort of understands the advisor because that is them.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's fun too. And, going back to the point of having the feedback, having the constant community, it's only going to allow us to evolve and become a better platform over time. And having that flexibility is so important so that we're able to do it and we can get those answers and get the products and get the opportunities for the advisors, for their clients, so that they can continue to grow and they can continue to drive additional revenue.
Well, the proof is in the pudding. The DBA model is the future.
Yeah.
I mean, the wirehouse era is essentially over.
Yeah.
And individual RIAs, they can only grow so large.
Yeah.
Because at a certain point, they need the scale of the operations.
Yeah.
And most investment advisors don't want to either spend the money or do the work to make that happen, and nor should they, because it's out there.
Correct. And that makes sense. And so we'll kind of give like a real life example here of something that we've seen over the past year. With the growth of some of the DBA firms that we've had underneath us. But we go back to that example where I said, hey, imagine the advisor that comes over and has 30 million and has grown it to 150, and how much knowledge that they can provide to the next advisor that joins the platform to say, what did you do? What did you do? Real life example, we've had an advisor who came over to GVA a couple years ago, decided that they really wanted to focus on being an enterprise underneath us. They wanted to focus on building that platform for advisors. And we would fully support that as an RA. And they were concerned of saying, oh, well, are you going to be okay as we continue to grow and get larger and larger? Absolutely, we'll help push you along the way and tell, what do you need? Do you just need compliance? Sure.
Right.
Do you need asset management? Great, we can help out there. Do you want some insurance? Great, right? In this situation, hey, I just want to make sure from a compliance standpoint, we're in a great place. That advisor has taken their business from 50 million to 500 million over the course of 5 to 6 years by adding advisors, acquiring practices, and we've been there every step of the way to help support them in that independent model.
Yeah,
and that's something that is something that, we've talked about this. There's a lot of practice management coaches. There's a lot of growth coaches, right? when you interact with an office or with an individual who's actually done it, that time that you spend together is invaluable. It's like, quite frankly, me talking to you about the growth of how you did with your small business, where you took it and where you were, and that is invaluable as a business owner for someone like myself.
Yeah, and you probably don't even realize it, but just asking questions like that is not that typical.
Yeah.
Usually you sign onto a platform and they tell you what's what.
Yeah.
This is what you get, this is what you pay for.
Mm-hmm.
You're creating a bespoke system for these folks. So they don't have to do it one way. It's really their business, but they can leverage all the underlying infrastructure.
Exactly. Leverage a piece of it, leverage all of it, really rely on the team, and then also the community that's around.
Absolutely.
So, well, Todd, thanks again for jumping on today for episode number 18 of the GVA Way. Always a pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having me.
And we look forward to the next monthly podcast where we sit down with one of our advisors to talk about this concept exactly.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision.